Welcome to A Slob Comes Clean, the podcast. I am Dana K. White. I share my personal deslobification process. As I figure out ways to keep my own home under control, I share the truth about cleaning and organizing strategies that actually work in real life for real people who don't love cleaning and organizing. Thanks for joining me today. This is podcast number 445. And I think I'm going to call it Learning to Trust Your Decluttering Instincts. This is a fun conversation. I think you're going to enjoy it. I want to remind you that, y'all, my book is out. Like, it's out. At the moment when I'm recording this, it's hard to believe that I'm actually saying these words on something that I am getting done and scheduled. But anyway, if you would like to take advantage of the pre-order bonuses, which the big one now that you make sure you don't want to miss is coming up soon, and that is an invitation to Q&As. So my new book is called Jesus Doesn't Care About Your Messy House. As you know, or you may not know, my previous books did not contain spiritual content, but this one is all spiritual content. Basically, it's the spiritual side of all of this. I know that that is not what a lot of you come here for, but I'm open to all the conversations. And so for those who pre-order, you're going to get invited to a live Q&A with me that will be in a little bit, after you've had a chance to read the book. So go ahead and get that book ordered right now so that you can get your invitation to participate in that. We're going to do separate ones. We're going to do 6, and there will be 2 for each of the categories. And the categories are going to be, I am all in. Yes, I'm in, like on the subject matter of Jesus doesn't care about your messy house. Then there's going to be one that says, I've got questions. Like, I don't know how I feel about this. And then we're going to do one for those of you who are like, nope, but you did want to read the book. And so you pre-ordered it. So I would love to have those conversations with you. So make sure you go to aslobcomesclean.com/Jesus to make sure that you have ordered it and fill out the bonuses information. But just so you know too, you don't have to order it from any specific place. You can literally order it from anywhere. You can have already ordered it a long time ago. You can still get those bonuses. So make sure you go to aslobcomesclean.com/Jesus, which I know this is probably a bit of a repeat because I have my little thing playing ahead of time, I'm sure, but I just want to make sure you know about it because this is a big week for an author, the week that the book comes out. Okay. Here is my conversation talking about learning to trust your decluttering instincts. Okay, Monica, thank you so much for joining me. And thank you for helping us find a time that wasn't 1 a.m. for you.
Thanks, Dana. Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
So you are in Australia.
I am.
Okay.
It's early morning here, but not super early, but and it's evening for you.
Yes. So love it. So tell me what your current unique life situation is.
Okay, so we've got grown-up children. I'm in Australia. We've got a very large 2-story house with bedrooms everywhere, and everything was full. And over the last 4 years, thanks to you, I've decluttered. But we've got this big house that and the unique life situation is it's a house that's actually too big for us, and I can never find anything. And I work part-time, do a bit of support work and a few other things. And my husband has a business that used to be downstairs but is now external.
Okay. So he does not work from home anymore.
No. Oh,
Okay.
a little bit, but not much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the work that you do is from home?
No.
Okay.
I'm a support worker, so I go out and take people to places.
Oh, okay.
Like
Yes.
disability support. Yeah.
Okay. Got it. All right. Well, tell me what is working well for you.
Okay, working well is the better is good. You had a t-shirt on one day and it said better is good. And I was needing to finish every project. And that video, that day was just what I needed to hear. That, if I do 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 1 hour, I watched a 1 hour is better video, 1 hour better. And it was you helping a lady sort out a cupboard.
Mm-hmm.
And it just all clicked with me that, I don't have to finish the cupboard. I can start. And that was magnificent. And then the container concept.
The container concept. I was just
Yeah.
sending an email out to a group of mental health professionals that I met at a conference. And yeah, I was just trying to explain like the power of the container concept. Just the grasping that concept is so big.
And I fought it for a while. The first time I heard it was in that video, and the lady was just taking things to another room and putting it where take it there now, put it where it belongs. But that wasn't happening at my house because I was taking things, and where I was going, it was full. And
Yes.
so that first day, I cried because I thought, oh no, I can't do this because everything is full, and I couldn't take it there now. I hadn't listened to the full container concept.
Okay.
So I now know what you have to do at that end. It's not as
Well,
case
you
of
go ahead and
shoving it
explain
in.
it. You go ahead and explain
Okay.
it because they've heard me say it. So maybe you'll.
Okay. So it is, I've taken something to another shelf or another room that is full, completely full. So I have to find space for this thing that I've just brought, and I'm putting it in, and it doesn't fit. So I've now realized the container is the size that it is. So that shelf is the size that it is. So for now, while I'm still working in the other room, for now, I just have to find the space for this one thing. So is there something that can go so I can put that in? That was the bit I didn't know. I thought, I don't want to shove it in because she said not to shove it in, but what do I do with this thing? But
Yes.
now I understand something can go in that moment.
So you said 4 years you've been working.
Yes, New Year's
Okay.
Day 1 year, I just went, oh, got to do something.
Right. And the better is good.
Yeah,
Like it sounds like you've made huge progress. I mean,
yeah.
you were saying there was stuff everywhere and now things are pretty much empty, like and usable.
Not
So,
empty, not
right,
empty, but
right,
under control.
under
Yeah,
control.
still a long way off empty, but I don't feel that overwhelm anymore.
Do you have a story of the better is good that you remember like seeing the power of that?
Only just that video that I watched
Okay.
where you wore the t-shirt, better is good. And I can't remember the details, but I came away from that just relieving myself of that I have to finish the job. Like I take photos at the beginning and the end,
Mhm.
and that makes me sort of see that it is better. And I'm a not perfectionist is the wrong word. No one would describe me as a perfectionist, but if I can see a difference, that's okay. And that
Yes.
that I had to relieve myself of that need to that it's right, that it's just better.
Seeing a difference is the sense of accomplishment that you
Yeah.
need, as
Yeah.
opposed to being finished being the
Yeah.
definition of accomplishment.
Yeah. And that changed in that one video.
I love it. Tell me about some things what's something that you would like to discuss today?
I looked through old comments in the Patreon group, and I looked through, and it was like I've posted 4 times the same thing. The question, where would I look for it first? I struggle with that, and I
Okay.
still struggle with that. I struggled with it yesterday. So I don't know. I can tell you an old example or a new example.
Tell me the one from yesterday.
Okay. So I'm traveling interstate, and I have earbuds, like to listen to music. And I bought them a while ago, and I've rarely used them because I don't have a home for them. I don't know where I would look for it first because it depends. It's used in different circumstances. I don't have a spot for it, and I can't work out how to find a spot. I know I'm not supposed to be finding a spot. I know it's
You're
where
supposed
would I look for it first, but I don't know.
Okay. So what are the different situations where you use them?
Okay, so like traveling interstate, I would like to listen to it on the plane.
Okay.
I walk every morning, or try to walk every morning,
Mhm.
and I would like to listen to podcasts there. I'd like to listen to something while I'm cleaning or making dinner or something. So they're and I work in the garden and I'd like to listen to them there. And they're not the sort of thing I can buy 5 of.
Right.
So I just haven't got a spot, and right at this present moment, I don't know where they are.
Do they have to be charged?
Yes.
Okay.
I
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know where the charger is?
No.
Okay. Do you have a general place where you charge things?
No, no. The phone gets charged in. I'm kind of have places, multiple places where I can charge things. Yeah. So
Okay.
like my
So,
phone, and I don't have other things except garden tools, but that's in an office that's
right.
downstairs. I wouldn't use it.
Okay. But you are able to keep up with your phone.
Yes, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And
It's
even
always
though,
next to me, and I've got a charger next to me when I watch TV. I have a charger next to near in the bedroom, so it's wherever I am.
I
Yeah.
mean, what I would say with that is realistically, because I have earbuds that I use and I struggle with charging them, remembering to charge them, right?
Mm.
But so that's kind of one of those things that if you've only used you said you've used them once,
Yeah, yeah.
okay, that maybe it's like, oh, then when I need to use it, it's not charged. So thinking of it as, okay, I've eliminated a whole bunch of spots and out of the chargers, okay, like I need to look for them at the chargers. So out of the chargers, which charging spot would
Mm.
I look first for these?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I didn't think of it in terms of the charging. I thought of in terms of the usage.
Right.
So that's how I was thinking, where would I use them? So that's where I'll keep them. But
Yeah.
because I use them in multiple situations,
Well, and I think it's where would I look? Like, have you gone looking for them? You said you don't know where they are right now.
no, this just happened like last night, and I thought,
Okay.
oh, I could talk about that
Okay. Where
as
did
an
you
example. But
right.
so I haven't looked. No,
You haven't looked. Okay. Well,
no.
tell me where's the first place where you're going to look when you need them? Like just and you have no idea. I can see
Yeah,
on your face you
no.
have no idea where they are, and that's actually fine. Like that's
Yeah,
part of
yeah,
this process, right? So
yeah,
just
yeah.
tell me like I
There's a
probably look for
drawer
them.
next to my bed that they could be in. There's a handbag hanging on the back of a door that they could be in. They could be in my gardening bag where I
You
would.
said the drawer next to your bed.
Yeah. Okay.
That is probably a place they could charge as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's say that's the first place where you said you would look for them. Let's decide now that that's the home. It doesn't
Hmm.
mean that you're going to always remember that's the home, but instead you're going to say, okay, where's the first place where I would look? I'm not sure where the home is. I don't remember what I decided. I don't remember what Dana and I talked about, and
Mm.
just say, that's the first place where I would look. Let's put them there.
Yeah.
And then they can also be charging there. But instead of thinking of it as a choosing, think of it as a that's the first place that came out of my mouth when I was talking to Dana.
Yeah.
And so that's
Yeah.
where I'm going to put
And
them.
and this will I will now, when I find them, I will do that and I will remember
Right.
that. But there are so many of those little things, those
Yeah.
tiny little, and they're usually small things, whatever it is, they're actually small in size.
Mhm.
They're usually the small things that I have this issue with. And that made sense being near the charger. But can I use another example?
Yes, let's do it.
There's a little key that comes with a new phone, to open up the SIM card, that tiny little key. In the past, I used to keep the box on a shelf where all our other boxes are, and they're good boxes. So, I might use it one day. But then one day I decluttered all the boxes.
Yeah.
So then I got a new phone and like, do I keep the box? Do I keep the little key
Okay.
thing? It
You
might come
said
in
you started
handy.
with the little key first. So let's just
Hmm.
say, okay, you literally have no place in your house that is established for those. Okay.
No,
Which that's
no.
fine because that would
Yeah.
have been in the easy stuff step. So this is what this question is for. If you needed the little key,
Mm.
where's the first place? Imagine yourself reaching for a spot, what's the first place in your house where you would look for that key
Well,
with
see, my
no
brain is,
confidence it was going to be there?
yeah, my brain goes to where the box is, it
Okay.
used to be.
Okay.
But
Can it go
then
there?
there's no, because it's a shelf now. It's not boxes. So
Okay.
it's a tiny little
Here's
thing.
honestly what I would do probably is
Yeah.
I would pull all the extra stuff out of that box that you have, the new box,
Yeah.
and I would put that box as a container
Yeah.
on that shelf and I would put that thing in it. That's what I would do.
Right.
And I know
Okay.
that okay, or you can say that shelf is clear and I want it to be clear. I want it to be empty.
Which
So
is what the
if
case. Yeah.
right, if that shelf is empty because that's my goal, where would I
Hmm.
look first for this? Because the shelf is empty, where would I look
Yeah.
first? What would your
Yeah.
answer be to that? Don't
I
think
did
too
find,
hard.
yeah, I did find a spot. So I did find a spot. So it ended up with my paper clips, because paper clips is what I would use instead of using that key. If I needed that key, I would look and I wouldn't find it. I would get a paper clip.
Okay. So that's
So
where you would look, not where you decided to put it, but where you would look for it. You would
no,
actually look for it.
sorry. That's
It's a
where I did. Yeah,
and
it's
that's
a
okay.
fine. Yeah, I know, but it is where I decided to put it,
But
not
would you look for it there now?
now I would,
Okay.
because it was a whole big hoo-ha in my head. But I want to know how to do that, ask that question, where would I look for it first, with more confidence than what I have.
I mean, I think it's a confidence that builds. Okay. So
Mm.
the fact that you have your with each, part of the thing with the earbuds is that it's a new item for you. And
Yes,
so you're
it's the
like, I've
new
never gone
items.
looking for this before. Okay,
No.
that's fine. But you said where, you just kind of had a defeated look on your face, like your shoulders slumped, and you were like, I mean, I guess I would look in the nightstand next to my bed. That is a totally valid answer because it's the first place that
Yeah.
came out of your mouth. Okay. And so
Okay. Yeah.
putting it there, even though you're like, I don't feel confident, but it's the first place that came to your mind. And so we're going to decide to go with that. And now every time you need those earbuds and you go to that spot and they're there, it builds that confidence and it builds that confidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
What if it's not? Like, what if another time the first thing that would come out of my mouth is the drawer in the lounge room that has bits and pieces? Because that seems to be what my brain does. One time, then it was because we were talking about charging. I mentioned the cupboard with the next to the bed, but another time I might be thinking about the cupboard in the lounge room that has all the bits and pieces.
it's not perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
there's no there, but also here's where I go. I know what you're saying. And
Yeah.
sometimes the going to the thing in the lounge with the bits and pieces
Yeah.
and opening up that drawer is the thing that triggers in my brain. Oh, no,
Okay.
no, that's right. It's in here. And so
Yeah.
maybe I did have to go to two places,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's still better than before when I would come up with super logical places and then I would never find it. So
Yeah.
it's still better than
I
the
understand.
tearing
Yeah.
apart the whole house that I used
And
to do.
better is good.
And better is good. And every time I do it, I start to become more I get better at it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I declutter the drawer with the bits and the bobs and and then I have more awareness of that, which
Mm.
then sends me to the right place because I know it's not in there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's helpful. That's helpful. Yeah, I just have to have a little bit more confidence,
Yeah.
and maybe, and it may not be, you said it may not be in the first place I look. And
Right.
then I would get a little bit like, yeah, I would get frustrated with that if it wasn't. But
But compared to before,
yeah.
finding it in the second place where you look, would you be excited
Oh
compared to
yeah,
before?
that'd be
Yeah.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be good.
Well, and every time that happens, you get a little bit better at it, right? So, I
Yeah.
mean,
Because I was trying to put it in places that where I think I would look, like my gardening bag, because I'm going walking to the community garden. I would listen to them there, and that's where my brain would go. It could be in the gardening bag because I'm going to, there's a whole lot of
It's
things that
such
go
a
through my head.
it's such a distinction between where I think I would look
Yeah,
and where I would look. Because where I
yeah,
think I would look turns into organizing and
mm,
analyzing,
mm.
instead saying, okay, literally, where's the first place where I would look? And just it pops in my head. And I'm like, I don't want that to be the answer, but that is the answer because that's where I would look first. And
Okay, yeah,
it's an instinct. It's saying it wasn't working for me before, so I'm going to go on my actual instinct. And it's
yeah.
something that builds for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And all the others I have built. All the other, and this one has been stuck in this loop of
Yeah.
new things, small things that don't have an established home.
Yeah.
That's the ones that I'm constantly still losing.
Yeah. I would really not question your instinct as much
Okay.
as you want to question your instinct.
Yeah.
Really say, I am going to go with this instinct and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
I will try.
I know. I totally get it. Like it's
Yeah.
it's it's hard, right?
And like, how do you do that? Like, do you just your instincts are honed so that your first, oh, where would I look for it first is usually where you find it?
Usually yes, but
Okay.
sometimes no. But
Yeah.
when it's not, I still acknowledge that it was worth it to put it in the place where I look for it first because I do end up
Right.
finding it, and then it just kind of solidifies and builds for the next time. Also, the less stuff I have, the more
Yeah.
awareness of where things actually are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not losing everything anymore.
Right. Right.
It's just new things,
Yes.
new things, usually small.
Yeah.
Because I'm also very visual. So what pops into my head is, where did I see it last,
Mhm.
as the place where I'd look for it first. And so yeah, and then I have a visual. Oh, it was on that bench, but it's not on that bench. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I get it. So what's another
yeah.
situation you want to talk about?
We could talk about. I'm a gardener, so
Mhm.
I grow food, and that's a whole other area of not control, but that needs to be under control. And you're dealing with a different set paradigm because the container well, it's big, but there's abundance. Like, the aim of growing tomatoes is to have lots of tomatoes.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a shift.
It's not minimalism.
No, it's not minimalism. It's
Yeah.
abundance, and you want lots, but you don't want lots of weeds. So I've been able to apply principles to the weeds, and like 5 minutes of weeding is better than no weeding, and etc. But it gets out of control. But I think it's a different shift from the house. And I don't know if you want to explore how the
Sure.
garden is different, but
Let's talk about it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And like, I go out and it's crazy with weeds. Here in Australia, it's the start of summer, it's been raining, so weeds are just crazy. And I'm not sure how to apply the principles and move them through into the garden. But yeah, it's been interesting that better is good, but it's still out of control.
I
And
mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
have
Now that
no
I've
actual personal success to share whatsoever about gardening
yeah,
because
yeah.
I have not done a good job. So I don't know. Like what is your and I've never had too many tomatoes. I've never had too many of anything. Like
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
what is your most successful experience gardening? Tell me about your best year that
Well,
you can
my
remember.
the whole theory, I do permaculture, which means that things grow and drop where they are. So tomatoes, for example, you grow a tomato bush. If there's some left on the bush, the tomatoes will drop, more tomatoes will grow in that spot.
Okay.
So I'm not growing little seedlings and planting them and doing that's a lot of work. So I do it the way nature does it, which is just let things go, let them go to seed, let them
Okay.
drop. But that's not traditional. So everyone, it looks messy. And
Yeah.
I'm finding increasingly as I'm getting tidier, the mess in the garden is more distracting and uncomfortable for me.
Okay.
And yet that is how nature does it. So I'm trying to reconcile that in my head. Yeah, and just keep it growing. But I think weeds is the biggest issue, not the actual plants, the
Yeah.
weeds. Weeds are like trash.
They are.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the preventive thing, which you very well could be one of the people who told me to like put cardboard down to,
yeah,
keep
probably.
the
Yeah,
weeds from and that was huge. I still was terrible at gardening somehow, but at least I was able to walk through my garden because
yeah, yeah,
there were
yeah.
there were some spaces with no weeds. So I don't
Does
know.
it bother? Does it bother you? Like that? Does it bother you that the garden has a lot there? Like it bothers me now because my house is better.
Yeah, I
It,
mean,
it
now I
bothers me
I
now.
will say I think when you are saying garden, because I feel like this is a different way that we say things
Hmm.
in the US versus Australia.
Yeah.
Do you mean your whole, what we would call our yard, or do you mean a specific area for growing vegetables?
Bit of both.
Okay.
In an ideal world, the whole yard would be food growing, like a food forest. That would
Okay.
be my dream, but that's too hard. I haven't got the physical ability to
Right.
create that. So what I've laid a big section of cardboard, plonked soil and dirt in sections on top of it, and added plants to it, and added mulch, and then they all grow.
Okay.
So it's a big section. There's still lawn around it.
Okay. I mean, I would wonder if we could talk more about clutter threshold with this,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
your ability. And I know it's hard because it's like, oh, but this is growing the way I wanted it to. It's just kind of growing wild. But at the
yeah,
same time, if you can't handle it and then it gets out of control, it's like,
yeah,
having less and smaller space like that. I mean, that's my thing with you know, my biggest issue with my garden is that it's so big because the people
yeah.
who lived here before me were
And it's
great
too
at it.
much.
And I
Yeah.
can't do it. And every year I'm like, okay, I'll not do as much. I'll just do a small amount. And then
Mm,
I just can't
mm.
resist the big garden. And then
Yeah. Because when you've got a big garden, like when you've
yes,
got a big house, you
yes,
you want to fill it.
yes,
And I've managed the clutter threshold in the house to a degree, mostly, but the garden, and that's exactly what it is. My clutter
yeah,
threshold is
yes.
over what I
S-
can manage.
Right. And so it becomes an issue of, okay, I got to put more cardboard down. I have to
Yeah,
eliminate, I have to make it a
yeah,
smaller area that I let
yeah.
this go in. And so maybe you pick your favorite. Like if it's the tomatoes that are the things that you are most excited about and you actually have the drive and the excitement to get them, processed and canned and all that kind of stuff or frozen or whatever you do, I don't
Give
know.
them away. Yeah.
Oh, give them away.
I'm not canning.
Or whatever people are most
Yeah, yeah,
excited to
yeah,
take or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
it's like I'm
yeah,
going to choose this and this is going to be the actual
yeah,
but
yeah.
really, even if it's a matter
But
of okay,
the alternative is lawn, and lawn grows into those garden beds all the time. So that, I mean, it's an endless, like there's no easy answer. There's no easy answer. Look, because the way that nature goes, it's
right,
not a controllable beast.
right,
So I've kind of in the past run with that. It's not controllable. I have a wild garden and I used to be okay with that. But lately, I don't have the time or the energy to,
yeah,
and it's bothering me that it's messy.
yeah.
Yeah,
Are you able to wall off a smaller section?
I could, but that's a lot of work too.
I know.
It all
Sorry.
sounds like work. It all
I
sounds like work.
know.
Because
I
I also
know.
work in a daycare center where I'm teaching children about
Yeah.
seeds and growing things. So it's me. It's what I do. But yeah, So it's passion, but sometimes I have time and passion and sometimes I don't.
Well, and it's also the container concept of our time and our energy
Yeah,
because I mean, the reality is I don't like to diagnose myself or anybody else with anything, right? But those of us who struggle with clutter, we tend to get very into things,
yeah,
right? And
yeah,
and sometimes we get very into things for a period of time and
yeah,
then we get very into something else
yeah,
and
yeah,
tend to think I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to add on this new thing, but the more I get into the new thing, the more I'm like, I don't have the time or the energy or
no,
honestly even the same interest that I had in the old thing. But if I'm trying to hold on to the old thing and get into the new thing, that's when I start to feel so frazzled, like I
yeah,
just can't. So it's kind of like, okay, that was a time in my life where I loved to do that. I'm going to significantly minimize that thing so that
mm,
I continue to do it some, but so that I have the energy and the bandwidth and the,
yeah.
ability to focus on this new thing.
Yeah, yeah, no, yes, I hear what you're saying, and
And
I,
it
I
kind of sounds like
agree.
identity
Yeah,
clutter as well, don't you
it
think?
is. The garden
Sorry.
is my
Yeah.
identity clutter.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It is who I ran a community garden for 10 years, blah, blah, blah. It
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
who I am, who I feel like I am. But yeah, but times have changed and we're thinking about selling it. So all that work is, going to be unnecessary. So that's another thing that sits in the back of my brain is if we do one day sell, they're just going to it's and it's impermanent. That's okay. The gardens are impermanent, but I don't know. I've just lost a little bit of the love of excitement, but it's still my happy place. So whenever anything is going wrong, I'm in the garden.
Well, don't you feel like a more controllable amount might be a happier place?
Yeah, yeah, it would. It would. Because pulling out of weeds is not that therapeutic.
I mean, it is therapeutic, but it also
It
makes you
is
mad, right?
therapeutic. It's therapeutic when when there's 10 and they're gone, but when there's
Right.
3,000, it's not, it's like what we were talking about before. It's
Yeah.
like container concept. There's just too many weeds, too much trash.
I'm
So
sorry I don't
yeah,
have a better.
no, that's okay. That's okay. But it was interesting, and I think I do need to look at making it just function more simply
Yeah.
and not letting it just go crazy.
Well, and by definition, less is easier to manage,
Yeah, yeah,
and the it being so hard to manage then makes you feel frustrated
yeah,
and brings up
yeah,
all the like, the identity stuff. So
yeah. So no, that's no, that's helpful. I will definitely consider how I can make it less difficult to manage. Or I
so
could always employ someone to mow the lawns. I used to have that all the time, and now I don't anymore. So because I thought I can do it
so is it something that you could afford to do?
occasionally, not all the time, but yeah, to do some maintenance.
I
Mm.
would say that's, step 1, honestly,
Yeah,
is
yeah,
getting
yeah,
if you're able to, is
yeah,
getting help and seeing, okay, could paying someone to help do this get it to a point where I then got the joy out of it instead of the
yeah,
frustration?
yeah, yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Because there's just too many things happening,
Yeah.
yeah, that I can't control. But I'm very pleased that the house doesn't feel like that anymore.
Yeah. So what's something else you wanted to discuss?
Um, just the Patreon work-alongs. I've been doing those.
Has that been
Um,
helpful?
oh, so helpful because I also have a friend interstate, and and she's started listening and she's decluttering, and we did our own work-alongs.
Oh,
So
I
we
love
just
it.
stuck the phone in the corner and just talked, and every now and then, oh, look at this, I'm just not sure what I'm going to do. And so that was great, but she's working and not available. So the work-alongs were the same sort of feeling. It just makes such a difference with how you having someone to say something to,
Yes.
when you pick up something. Before the work-alongs, I would have you in my I had different headphones and I would have you, and they just kept me as so that I wasn't alone doing it. That's what it
Right.
felt like. Yeah.
Well, and another one of our goals with the work along sessions is just to put it on your schedule.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay, and they're not recorded. They're not anything that you can
Yeah.
watch later. It's literally just, oh, there's an hour here. I could, take the whole hour
Yeah.
or a portion of it and get it on the schedule to get this thing done. So I
Yeah.
love it.
No, they're great. And just that the power of having someone else, even if
Mhm.
it's not two-way, but having someone else with you there
Yes. Yes.
is
I agree.
very powerful.
I love
Mm.
it. I love it. Well, thank you. Is there anything else that you wanted to discuss?
Um, no, I think that that covers everything. Yeah.
So I've solved all your problems.
Yeah. Yeah. My garden will be perfect and I
Oh,
will find my earbuds. No,
oh goodness. Yeah.
I have to find them by tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I think it is. It's that you've come so far to
Yeah.
trust yourself to be like, okay, I'm going to go with this instinct. I'm going to go with the
Okay.
instinct of this. And even though it might mean I look in a different place the first time, but then this is my second place, it's like
Yeah.
that all builds upon itself until that becomes an easy place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it will, but yeah, and then it's yeah, until it's the next small thing that I'm not sure of. But hopefully the instinct builds.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for doing this. I
Thank you.
appreciate you getting up early in the morning and being willing to meet with me. So,
Thank you. Yeah, I love what you do.
thank you. Thank you. This has been so fun. I hope y'all loved that conversation. I enjoy these conversations so much with members of my Patreon community. If you want to know more about being a patron of the show, which then allows you to sign up to do one of these sessions eventually, right? Like I don't do them immediately at all. But you can go to Patreon, patreon.com/a slob comes clean. Also, don't forget, my new book is out. Like you can order it and start reading it or start listening to it or whatever. There's no more waiting needed. But if you want to get in on those Q&As, then make sure you go fill out your order information at aslobcomesclean.com/Jesus. All right. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.